Ever find yourself like obsessively checking the tracking on a package and just wondering how these massive warehouses even work? It's kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. And it's a world that's only getting bigger, surprisingly enough.
Yeah. How so?
Well, get this, the global warehouse automation market, yeah, that's going to be huge, like $51.3 billion by 2030.
Wow, $51.3 billion. That's a whole lot of automation. So I guess that means the demand for skilled warehouse managers is going through the roof too, right?
Absolutely. This industry is booming.
Okay, so with that in mind, let's break down what a warehouse manager actually does. We're diving into some insights from RoleCatcher today.
Great resources.
Yeah, their career guide gives us the rundown. It talks about managing the daily ins and outs, overseeing staff, keeping everything secure, that sort of thing. Sounds pretty straightforward on the surface.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But it's surprisingly more dynamic than it might seem. It's way more than just moving boxes around.
So what else is there?
Well, a warehouse manager is responsible for making the entire layout as efficient as possible. They analyze all sorts of data to predict what's needed, and they even work with all the latest tech, like automation. They're basically the ones making the entire warehouse run smoothly, like a well-oiled machine.
And I bet the huge increase in online shopping has only made that need for efficiency even more intense. I mean, all those online orders have to come from somewhere.
It's true. The rise of e-commerce has completely transformed the way warehouses operate.
It's pretty fascinating when you think about it. Although I have to say, looking at the pros and cons section, the long hours and high stress parts definitely caught my eye. So maybe not your typical 9 to 5 desk job.
Well, let's just say it's not for the faint of heart.
Okay, so with these long hours, all the moving parts, what kind of skills does a warehouse manager actually need to, really thrive?
Good question.
Because I was looking at the functions and core abilities section in this role catcher guide, and I was a little surprised. It takes more than just being strong, right?
Way more. We're talking about mental agility just as much as physical stamina.
Interesting.
Yeah, they emphasize monitoring, critical thinking, and even active listening as super core skills.
I can see how those would matter in like a boardroom or something, but in a warehouse,
Oh, absolutely.
how does that even work?
Okay, so picture this. You're the warehouse manager, right? You're constantly keeping tabs on everything that's happening, how the team's performing, if the equipment is running smoothly, the whole flow of everything.
Right.
And then on top of that, you're using all that information, all that data to make adjustments in real time. You have to adapt to unexpected problems, and you always have to be looking for ways to improve. It's a fast-paced environment, so you got to think on your feet.
It's like you're conducting an orchestra, but instead of instruments, it's forklifts and conveyor belts and mountains of boxes.
Exactly. It takes a special kind of awareness.
So speaking of unexpected things, some of the other skills listed really threw me for a loop, like negotiation and persuasion.
Hmm.
Those don't exactly scream warehouse to me. How do those come into play?
Okay, so we've covered the day-to-day stuff and those surprising skills you need to make it as a warehouse manager. But what about actually moving up in this field? Can you go from the warehouse floor to like a corner office?
Oh, absolutely. RoleCatcher's career stages section maps out how you can climb that ladder. You start with entry-level positions like a warehouse associate, and it goes all the way up to senior management.
So it's not just moving boxes forever.
Not at all. You can gain more responsibility, face bigger challenges.
So what does that look like? You start with the hands-on stuff, and then what?
Well, as you progress, you're not just getting more experience, you're leading teams, tackling those more complex issues. Remember the skills we talked about?
Mhm.
Critical thinking, clear communication, being adaptable. Those become even more important as you move up.
Right. Those are like your foundation. Exactly. And then each step up the ladder, you're adding more specialized knowledge, a deeper grasp of how the whole industry works.
And speaking of specialized knowledge, the guide mentions certifications like the CPIM and the CSCP, certified in production and inventory management. Those sound pretty intense.
They're valuable, that's for sure.
But what do they actually mean?
Well, those certifications show employers that you're serious, that you've gone the extra mile to really understand supply chain management and warehouse operations. The CPIM, for example, that one dives deep into production planning, making sure you have the right amount of inventory, forecasting demand. And the CSCP, that gives you a broader look at the whole supply chain strategy, managing risks, even global logistics.
So if you want to stand out, these certifications are the way to go.
They could definitely give you an edge.
Like a secret weapon in your back pocket. And that's where RoleCatcher comes in handy again, right? They've got resources to help with those certifications and navigating the whole job market.
Totally. RoleCatcher can be a game changer. They have this jobs module, sends you tailored job alerts, connects you with employers who are actively looking for talented warehouse managers, like yourself.
Nice.
And their interview prep, gold. You'll find practice questions, get tips on how to answer them well, and even some insider advice on acing those interviews and landing your dream job.
It's like having a career coach right in your pocket. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of warehouse management, what's the key thing you want our listeners to walk away with today?
If you're looking for a career that lets you think strategically, solve problems on the fly, and be in charge of a complex and ever-changing environment, warehouse management might just be your calling. Don't let the word warehouse fool you. It's an industry packed with opportunities to grow, innovate, and make a real impact.
I like that. And hey, if you're already navigating those aisles, maneuvering forklifts, I hope this deep dive has given you some new ideas, maybe even inspired you to take your career to the next level. Until next time, happy organizing.